Happy Valentine's Day for everyone who's listening to this video on the first day it's gonna get released. So today we're gonna take a look again at 10 Pokemon that you might want to keep because they might gonna be good in the next season or the season after or the season after. Because today we're gonna take a look at some Pokemon that especially got buffed recently, in theory, if they would get the new move. But yeah, they're all only one move away from being meta. And today we're gonna take a look at 10 more. We already had a video like this a few weeks ago where a lot of people really liked it. If you enjoy those videos, the best thing you can do for me is subscribe to the channel first and leave a like on the video. Both of us going to be very much free and it's definitely both helping out a ton also to see and if you want to see more of this. So today we're going to have a focus, basically more of a mix between the Master League as well as the Great League. I think we have 5 out of each of them, and general focus towards also pseudo-legendary Pokemon, like the Garchomp, and there are going to be some more of them in there as well. And so, Garchomp is a Pokemon that currently doesn't really have any play. If you see my girlfriend's channel, she tried to play this Pokemon as well. Wasn't the greatest, but was a lot of fun still. The video, definitely check them out. But anyway, Garchomp here lacks basically good fast charge move. And that's the thing here as well. You're going to have Sand Tomb, which is the fast one that you have, but doesn't do damage. Then you have Earth Power, Outrage, and I think you have Earthquake as well in this Pokemon. Plus Mudshot and Dragon Tail. Mudshot and Dragon Tail, both are okay. Mudshot is not the greatest, but like after the nerf recently, Dragon Tail is totally fine. But as we'll see here with Breaking Scythe, all of a sudden we're going to get a move that's going to be cheap, that's going to have a secondary effect, which is going to be very good for Garchomp, that's going to be a stab, that's going to make that actually kinda meta. And as you will see here, plus 70 overall rating is actually not even telling directly, because PV Poke, if Breaking Scythe is on a Pokemon, basically gives it guaranteed no debuff on the first usage. And that's not going to be the case when you actually play this Pokemon. So I would assume that there are going to be quite a few more matchups here that you're actually going to be able to win with this Pokemon if you actually play them out later on, like in the Go Battle League, and you get the debuff on the first move. And that is something that is just really cool about this Pokemon. So the average rating and the wins here is actually not on how strong this Pokemon actually going to be. But with Breaking Scythe, Garchomp actually will definitely become meta again. Meta again would be also kind of cool for Toxicroak, a Pokemon with a great typing, especially in the current meta game, but not really the moveset to back it up. The one issue is that counter got nerfed, otherwise this Pokemon actually I would assume would have been really good right now. But yeah, it's going to be like one of those awkward fighting type Pokemon, but I kind of want to mix it up a little bit. Instead of relying too off like a fast move that's going to be fighting type, we kind of want to rely on a very good charge move that's fighting type, because this Pokemon is actually able to learn Cross Chop. Cross Chop would be amazing on this Pokemon, allowing you to change the moveset completely, getting rid of the counter, getting basically the Poison Jab there, having still the coverage with the Shadow Ball and Cross Chop as like stab moves there as well with the Cross Chop, Poison Jab, both stab moves. As you can see here, you have great play against the current meta, having a lot of play against basically every single Pokemon. And that's the cool thing as well, if you're going to be able to farm down like maybe an Azurma or something like this, or with this Pokemon, you're going to end up with a crazy amount of energy that basically can cover each other's weakness as well. That's the thing as well. We have here Cross Chop and Shadow Ball, which kind of resembles also what an Annihilate has with Rage Fist and Close Combat, and those two types basically completely cover each other's weaknesses, which is really cool. So for example, Ghost type moves wouldn't really hit like normal Dark type Pokemon, while Fighting type Pokemon going to be able to do that. While Fighting type moves would, for example, not really be able to hit Ghost as well as Psychic type Pokemon, where Ghost type damage is going to come in clutch. So again, this is going to be basically a perfect Pokemon with that change. I would really like to see it. Plus 6 wins, going to be very cool. I think it's going to be a great meta breaker. I like this. Houndstone. Mud Slap would be really cool for this Pokemon. Why? Because this Pokemon actually is going to be kind of underground most of the time when you encounter it in the main series games, which also shows kind of by the charge move that they chose for this Pokemon, which is going to be Dig, which of course not currently really used because they got nerfed recently, not really a great move anymore. There's going to be hopefully a video soon as well where I'm going to talk about some future buffs where Dig might be also one of those. But I want to add a Mud Slap. I know Mud Slap has been kind of added to a lot of Pokemon recently, and yes, you might be also kind of wondering if you cannot give this Pokemon Astonish, but Mud Slap would make way more sense in my opinion. It gives it better coverage also against Pokemon that you maybe don't want to face, and makes this Pokemon still very solid and a bit better. And you might think average rating of 470, 17 losses, 17 wins, 21 losses, just a bit of a mediocre Pokemon. It's actually not, because in the two-shot scenario, this Pokemon really slaps because of Mud Slap and Psychic Fangs really working out together, and then Shadow Ball has great coverage. I think this Pokemon would be absolutely amazing with a Mud Slap on it while not being absolutely broken. That's the thing as well. Today I don't really want to create super broken Pokemon. There's one that you could argue might be a bit broken, but Pokemon that actually could happen like this, like with a move update in the game. By the way, I would assume that we're gonna get the new move update in like around a week, because there's going to be the EOSC. Usually the season gets announced at those events. I hope actually it's not going to be the case and they're going to wait for a little bit, because I'm not going to be there because I'm at EOSC. But anyway, I'm going to try my best, of course, to cover as much as possible directly afterwards. But anyway, again, we're very likely going to see what kind of move updates we're going to get for the next season in about a week. Altaria is next. Altaria, a Pokemon that currently doesn't really see any play at all, and I would like to see Aerial Ace on it. Aerial Ace is basically a cheap move that doesn't do that much damage, but gives it just better pacing, and better pacing is all this Pokemon needs. And look at this, all of a sudden you're going to have an absolute meta monster getting it right back into the meta with a moveset that is still kind of balanced though. You have Dragon Breath, Aerial Ace. Cool, like Aerial Ace is not the craziest one. Dragon Breath is solid, don't get me wrong. Moonblast is a top coverage move, don't get me wrong as well, very cool there. But yeah, like your main move is Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is not the strongest hit. And so I feel like this Pokemon would be really balanced. I saw some people, like, by the way, I actually took a lot of your suggestions or in the comment section as well from the last video. So if you want to leave some more suggestions for Pokemon that needs to get a buff, I would really appreciate it to see it down below in the comment section. Most of the Pokemon that I actually showcase here are Pokemon that were suggested down below. A lot of times they were suggested with different kind of moves, which I then kind of looked up and maybe changed a little bit around it, for most of them, to be fair. Altaria was suggested with Fly. Fly would have been way too overpowered for this Pokemon, I feel like, because you just have hard-hitting coverage for Flying type stab, basically. That would just be a little bit too broken. Aerial Ace is better for the pacing, so like you need 5 less energy, which is cool. You're gonna get there way faster, but also doesn't do as much damage, which I think is going to be the better way to go, because Altaria can be quite broken if you give this Pokemon too good of a moveset. And here we are, Metagross. This wasn't suggested, but some other pseudo-legendaries got suggested, where I was like, let's take a look at some of the pseudo-legendaries that currently don't perform well. Metagross is actually one of them. While maybe in the Master League Premier Cup this Pokemon has some play in the Open Master League, I haven't seen one in like a few seasons. That's for good reason, because this Pokemon doesn't utilize its secondary stab move, which is usually kind of difficult to utilize in the Open Master League anyway, and doesn't have like a bait move. And we can kind of fix both of those problems with one move, which is going to be Psychic Fangs. Being a bait move, being able to debuff the opponent's defense, being able to just allow you to go a bit freer and also afterwards a Media Mesh to knock out opponents. It's going to be very cool. Do I think it's going to be the most overpowered Pokemon with this change? Not really, because you're also going to give up some good coverage, but I guess you could actually argue that Bullet Punch, Psychic Fangs, as well as Earthquake would be ideal on this Pokemon. But I do think that this Pokemon definitely would get some more play, and I do think it's going to be a bit better than you see here right now on the screen, because again, Psychic Fangs especially adds up in the two-shield scenario, and I would assume that even the Shadow Pokemon might be even a little bit better here now, thinking about it. So I do think that Metagross with Psychic Fangs would be quite a decent upgrade. But yeah, we can move on now to the next Pokemon. We're gonna end up with a Medicham. This Pokemon is gone, kinda. Of course, recently in the Love Cup, which is currently running around, this Pokemon's kinda back. But you don't really see this Pokemon at all anymore. And Force Palm would certainly gonna change this, because as we will see here as well, yeah, you all of a sudden get plus 50 average rating. You're gonna get up from 20 wins to 23 wins. And Medicham is back. I'm not too sure if I'm actually going to really be happy about this, if this would be happening, because at the end of the day, I feel like Medicham would like to have a bit more of a subtle buff. However that's going to happen, I feel like Force Palm might be even a little bit too strong on this Pokemon. It would clearly be a buff, as you can see here though. But yeah, the thing that I maybe would like to see more on Medicham, of course, like not really for this type of video that I currently do, but for a different video, might be a Psychic buff. Psychic can kind of definitely get a buff again. I feel like Psychic doesn't make sense, it's currently that bad. I would actually like to see a major buff for Psychic, I have to say. But yeah, then Force Palm would be a bit overkill here like this. Force Palm was cool, Force Palm was solid. Still, Medicham looks absolutely ridiculous. Ice Punch recently got buffed as well for Medicham, but I would like to see like a bit of a Psychic buff again. Here we're gonna go to the one Pokemon that I feel like might be a little bit too broken, but I feel like it kind of needs to have a big upgrade, and that's going to be Mewtwo. How can one of the strongest Pokemon ever created end up at 11 wins and 22 losses? That's embarrassing. That is really, really bad. That is something that shouldn't be the case for Mewtwo. Like, you're one of the main mascots of Pokemon, being so bad while having actually a very solid moves pool. Like, you have Psycho Cut here, it's cool, gives you some energy. Side Strike is cool, gives you some nice damage. You have Shadow Ball, which is great coverage as well. But what about Psywave? And all of a sudden, one of the big issues of Mewtwo would be fixed. You don't have fast move pressure with Mewtwo. And that's a big issue, because a lot of times you're gonna get the opponent with Side Strike into range where you just barely miss out on the KO, but you still have to go for another Side Strike, because guess what, Psycho Cut just doesn't cut it, and yeah, you kinda need to then invest a ton of more energy. Like this, all of a sudden, you're going to be able to go for Psywave, Side Strike, and farm them down. And that's the big thing for Mewtwo. If this Pokemon would get Psywave, it would become instantly meta again. And I would like to see this. And if you think, oh, 24 wins, 10 losses, it's actually too overpowered. If you take a look at the 2-shield scenario, it actually doesn't look that overpowered. It goes down to, I think, like 510 average rating. It is just the 1-shield scenario here that looks really, really strong for this Pokemon. But then again, I do actually think this Pokemon would be manageable, so I would like to see it. And we can move on to the next Pokemon, which I think is also the final one for today. Never mind, it is not. I think there's one more afterwards, or let's see. We're going to have here Linoone. Linoone adding Swift. Swift is going to allow it to have a bit of a better stab bait move, which is going to be great for this Pokemon. And as you have already great coverage with Grass Knot, Thunder, and Dig, you're going to see here that this Pokemon gonna get 70 plus average rating, 5 plus wins, and it's not broken at all. It's just gonna be a very cool Say-Swap that is unique, that has great coverage, that's going to be cool depending on what kind of moves that you're gonna run. For example, for the main losses here, you have Corviknight and Mandibuzz, for example. Go for Thunder, and you're all of a sudden going to have super effective coverage against these. So, yeah, this Pokemon would have a lot of potential, and it would be a cool meta breaker right now as well. So I would love to see Linoone getting a little bit of a buff. Grass Knot is most likely the preferred moveset because it's going to allow you to hit Digger Speed, for example. And so, yeah, that's going to be it for this one, and we can move on to the next one. There's still another one afterwards. Anyway, Lugia adding Psyshock. Lugia needs a buff. Lugia is a Pokemon that has been really good in the beginning of the Master League, and then completely dropped because Sky Attack got completely nerfed. Psyshock kinda changes this a little bit, giving it plus 2 wins, but also plus 40 average rating, and just way better pacing. Getting back basically to the pacing that Sky Attack was before it got nerfed like 2 times. This is going to make this Pokemon way, way better, and I do think it would be amazing to see Lugia getting back into the meta, and Psyshock wouldn't make it broken. There are other moves that would make this Pokemon broken that this Pokemon could learn as well, but I feel like Lugia deserves a buff. And with this, we're going to end up at the final Pokemon now finally, which is going to be Tyranitar, and I would love to see Ice Fang. Tyranitar got suggested as well with Dragon Tail as a fast move. I looked at it was kind of underwhelming, and Ice Fang isn't. Ice Fang absolutely is not underwhelming. This Pokemon, all of a sudden, going to be one of the best meta breakers, having coverage against basically every single Pokemon. Like, you can literally nearly beat everything with this thing all of a sudden, while not being broken either, because you don't have like really like the stab fast move like Stone takes ages to get to. Brutal Swing is fine or whatever, but like what do you do against Fairy type Pokemon? It is still balanced while looking quite unbalanced here. Like, this Pokemon looks really, really good. And it's going to be even a counter to Zygarde, which would be amazing, because like Zygarde is a bit too overpowered. But yeah, breaking completely Yveltal, breaking Zygarde, having good play against Rhyperior with Ice Fang, Brutal Swing, having access to Stone Edge for Ho-Oh. It is literally such a strong Pokemon that I would assume that this would be actually a really cool edit basically for this one. Ice Fang on Tyranitar, it learns all Elemental Fangs. Would be amazing. But yeah, this is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to leave a like. Again, do you want to see more of this? Then let me know down below. Let me know the Pokemon you would like to see a buff at as well. And I'll see you to the next episode. Bye bye.